Welcome to the 1 year challenge. I'm trying to get every achievement that I can in WoW in 1 year. Let's get into it. We're finally here. We're finally at the end game of Pandaria. All it took was 5 months. In reality, I've been done for a long time. But videos like this take time, which is why I'd be super thankful if you could like and subscribe. With that out of the way, we can start. Flying into the Vale, we immediately go to the Shrine of the Two Moons. This will be our new forever home. This is also where things get pretty messy. You see, at the end of every expansion, there's usually 3 or 4 patches that come out before the next expansion, usually to introduce a new dungeon or raid or story element. And as they were coming out, they were introduced weeks, maybe months apart. But since this is a legacy expansion, all of those quests are immediately dumped on me. Luckily, we don't have to worry about them for right now. We're focusing on the Vale. And first things first, we need some drip. I was tired of looking like a big mix mash of parts, so we just slap on the Yak Herder set and we are off. And there are 4 things to do in the Vale. There's rares, in-game scenarios, the Siege of Orgrimmar raid, and reputation dailies. But we're not grinding reputation, and we aren't at the level to do scenarios and raids by ourselves, so that just leaves hunting rares. And we have 24 to hunt down. Luckily, we only have to worry about 7 of them as they drop all the toys. And since this was filmed at the time where the anniversary event had just ended, I had to compete with quite a few players coming in and sniping my kills. And while I grind out these toys, I will take this time to mention all the other achievements I grinded out while I was waiting for these rares to respawn. First up was just all the Lorewalkers scrolls. I grabbed all the rest of the ones that I didn't already have. And using this add-on called All the Things makes it really easy. You just have to alt-right click on which scroll you're missing, and it makes a little waypoint if you have the TomTom add-on installed as well. Next up is the To All the Squirrels I Once Caressed achievement. This achievement line has a special place in my heart because it's one of the first ones I ever saw when I played the game. It's a really easy achievement. All you have to do is type /love while targeting multiple different creatures and critters all across Pandaria. It was just one of those silly achievements that you just don't really think about, but there's one for every expansion, and I do plan on getting all of them. And then obviously the last achievement to get is the glorious achievement, which is just killing every rare in Pandaria, or at least on the mainland. All the other areas and islands have their own rare achievements. Alright, and I think that's just about everything I needed to get. All we have left is this guy, and he just drops 1 toy. It's a 14% chance. I think we got this.
1 eternity later.
I have killed this man 57 times. My backpack is filled with capes. I was genuinely thinking about skipping this guy when I was originally running through here. I even had it in my notes that I was giving him 3 more attempts before I moved on. But sure enough, attempt number 58. I celebrated this by buying all of the Shadow Pan mounts. And with that, we're done with the Vale for now. We'll come back later to do the scenarios and raids when I hit level 70. For now, we're on to Phase 2, Isle of Thunder. Or at least it was going to be Phase 2, but I'll explain why in a minute. Either way, we're heading back to Town Long, because that's where we start the campaign. So after Lei Shin was resurrected in Zhaochen Village, he was transported to the Isle of Thunder, where he has been reinstated as the Thunder King. It's our job to fly in and secure a base. But for some reason, our leaders thought flying into a place covered in lightning storms was a great idea. After we crash land, we mow down as many Zandalari as we can and set up our new base. And it's from here that we begin to lay siege on the Thunder King's palace. We break down his walls, take over his mines, and even blow up his harbor. And just as we're about to break into the palace, we run into some old friends.
Hand over the Archmage, and I may yet allow you to walk out of here, Lorthamar.
Proudmore, you will release my people from the Violet Hold, or I will cut you down myself.
Your people are legitimate prisoners of war. They orchestrated an attack on Darnassus from my city.
The Sun Reavers knew nothing of Garrosh's raid on Darnassus.
No! There will be no more bloodshed today. I see now why your alliance and your horde cannot stop fighting. Every reprisal is itself an act of aggression, and every act of aggression triggers immediate reprisal.
I must protect my sovereign people.
Silence! You must break the cycle! It ends today. Here, the cycle ends when you, Regent Lord, and you, Lady Proudmoore, turn from one another and walk away.
Rangers, lower your weapons.
My lord!
To it!
Very well. We will stand down.
They killed my husband.
This won't bring him back. But know this, Blood Elf. There can be no peace while Hellscream is war chief of the Horde.
That is precisely why I wish to conserve our strength today. Lady,
Lord.
gather the wounded. Withdraw to the harbor.
With the storyline done, we are free to roam the island and hunt down all the treasures and rares. But this is where we run into our problem. Turns out, the Isle of Thunder is covered in elite rares, which are way harder than the normal ones we've been fighting, as evident by the silver dragon outlining them instead of just having a little star. Which means that despite my efforts, I am unable to kill any of them. But I have a solution. Since we can't kill any of the rares at level 69, because we're still in time walking, I've decided that we are going to unlock our XP bar and do the Horde Campaign, which should give us just enough XP to get to level 70, which will subsequently rip us out of our timeline into the present. But in turn, that'll make all of Pandaria level 30. And with 40 levels in between us, I'm practically unstoppable now. But before we hit 70, we still have to start the Horde Campaign, which brings us into Krasarang Wilds once again. And after removing the Alliance from this island, we signal the Horde. With Domination Point constructed, we can start the Horde Campaign. And there's actually two storylines we can go for. One is the escalation storyline that leads to the Siege of Orgrimmar, and the other is to find a Divine Bell. And since I believe as the quests were coming out, the Bell one was first, we're going to start with that one first. But before we fly off, enjoy some very blatant racism from Garrosh Hellscream towards the Darkspear trolls.
What we doing here? You bring this war to another corner of Azeroth, and I want to know why. Your lack of vision is why your people are still primitives. And your lack of loyalty is why I did not summon the Darkspear for this campaign.
For the people wondering why I didn't like Horde, this was the war chief that I grew up with. Meanwhile, on the Alliance side, it's just Varian Wrynn, a father looking for his son, instead of trying to take over an entire new continent. Although I will say, Pandaria is one of the first expansions to truly paint the Horde as the bad guys, which is why I've been more open to playing the Horde in newer expansions. And with that tangent out of the way, we fly off towards the Vale, but not before stopping by the Alliance stronghold to kill 3 rares for a easy achievement. And back at the shrine, we talk to Garrosh, and he sends us out to talk to some Blood Elves who are performing an excavation in the Vale. And as we approach, one of the statues come to life, killing all of the Blood Elves. After taking the statue down, it dropped a tablet that describes how a group of Mogu managed to harness the power of the Shah. After turning in that quest, I realized that we're actually pretty close to hitting level 70, so I just go and take out that last guy that I was farming in the Vale.
I hope you enjoyed your time living in the past, but we need you back in the present.
With that out of the way, we fly back to Domination Point to continue the story. And walking up to Nazgrim, we start a queue for the scenario Dagger in the Dark. This scenario tells the tale of how Vol'jin was betrayed and what eventually led to the Siege of Orgrimmar. But before his betrayal, we learn all about the Sorok. Turns out these guys were fabricated by Mogu flesh shapers. I guess they wanted some sort of artificial army, but that all fell apart once the Sorok realized that they could just attack the Mogu as well. And they're also super invasive. They lay their eggs everywhere, so it's near impossible to get rid of them. The orc in our party wants to tell Garrosh what they found, but Vol'jin was incredibly opposed to it. The orc labels him a traitor and stabs him. He also tries to stab us, but since we're level 70, we one-tap him. After that, Vol'jin tells us to tell Garrosh that he is dead, and to stay close to him. And it's from this point that you're supposed to wait like a day or a week, I don't really remember. That's just how Blizzard used to pace out their campaigns back in the day. But since this expansion was 12 years ago, we can just start the next part immediately by talking to this Grummel. He tells us that we have someone waiting for us down in Binan Village, and heading into one of the buildings we find Chen Stormstout, tending to a very, very dying Vol'jin. He tells us that some acupuncture is all he needs, so we relieve some sprites of their needles. Except for this one, he refused to die. After getting the needles, Vol'jin tells us to take his Hearthstone and to talk to Thrall. We follow him over to the Echo Isles, where the Horde has all of the Darkspears trapped on their island. But again, we have the power of God, so everything's one-tappable. And with the Subjugator dealt with, we have freed the Echo Isles. And while we were doing that, the Blood Elves had gone to Kunlai to track down this bell. Joining them on their expedition, we find that they've been captured by the Mogu. Dealing with them and taking out their leader, we find another clue to take us one step closer to the bell. It's also at this time that I realized since I hit level 70, I've unlocked Dynamic Flight, which they added in Dragonflight. This is personally my favorite thing they've added to the game. Mainly because it feels like I'm actually flying now instead of just hovering. And while enjoying this new flight style, I decided to take a little detour before we went back to Domination Point. That was Galleon. They were one of 9 raid bosses that are just out in the world of Pandaria. I'll get more into them after we finish the Horde campaign. Speaking of, we were sent out to Kunlai once again to meet up with our friend from Silvermoon. It turns out it was Lorthamar, the leader of the Blood Elves. He needed our help capturing a Mogu who knows where the location of the Divine Bell is. Obviously, he puts up a fight, but our war chief is Garrosh Hellscream. It's only a matter of time. After that, we're sent back to the Vale. And I get the feeling that something's a little off. It seems Garrosh is getting a little experimental with his projects, and he's been using his own soldiers as test subjects. After we deal with that, we're sent to the city of Silvermoon. Garrosh is having the Blood Elves research Mogu artifacts, and he sent us to help speed up their process. And with the help of Aethys, one of the mages from Dalaran, we get the box open. And unsurprisingly, there's a Shah inside. After that, we're given quite a speech from the leader of the Blood Elves, Lorthamar.
Champion, may I have a word with you? In private. You are a hero of the Horde. Your deeds in Northrend and during the Cataclysm are the stuff of legend. For this reason, I trust in your discretion. I am a ranger, not a politician. But like it or not, the mantle of leadership has fallen on my shoulders. My people, who have suffered through so many challenges and betrayals, look to me to secure their future. We Sindori were driven to the Horde by the bigotry and distrust of the Alliance. Now, I look at our war chief, and I begin to see the very same racism. He is willing to throw away our lives for his agenda. Know this, I won't stand idle if the Horde interests conflict with those of my people. I may reconsider old alliances. Keep your eyes open, champion. We are all in this together. For now.
With the threat of yet another race leaving the Horde, we march ever onward to the peaks of Kunlai. And it's here that they're torturing a Mogu. Thankfully, Bane has a better idea. Instead, we just have to murder a ghost. And using the ashes of this ghost, we can peer into the memories of this Mogu.
Are the preparations complete? Yes, Warlord. The traps are set. The Divine Bell will be safe within this crypt, ready for the day that the Thunder King returns. We have but to evacuate the workers and the rest of our warriors. There is no time. The Shadowpan trackers are too close. They cannot learn the location of the bell. Very well then. May the ghosts of our brothers guard this place for all eternity. Their sacrifice will not be in vain. And neither of our two will yours.
And now that we know where it is, we waste no time in flying to the ruins of Korun. However, we're too late. It seems the Night Elves got there first. Turns out Anduin's been researching the bell as well, and as soon as he found out what it could do, he had the Night Elves steal it from us. And I guess that's just the end, you know? The Night Elves got it, they have it in their tree. We can't just go into the tree, can we? I hate it here. This has easily got to be one of the worst things the Horde has done to Teldrassil. I don't think anything could top barging in and just steal. Funny jokes aside, this is actually pretty dangerous, as this is not an instanced Teldrassil, this is the current one that you can go to at any level. Which means that the guards are level 80. Not to mention, there could just be players running around, and if they see you, they can fight you. I got lucky this time, it was someone my level, right near the entrance to where the bell is. And thankfully, they didn't stay long, they flew off to go who knows where. And with nothing else in my way, I ran down and grabbed the bell. And with it in our possession, I earned yet another exalted reputation. And I celebrated by getting our Wyvern a much needed model update. But with celebrations out of the way, we needed to address a serious problem. You see, while we were in Darnassus, Garrosh may have dropped a nuke on Jaina's house. And she is not happy at all. For a little background, Jaina Proudmoore is the leader of the Kirin. They're the magic people of the world who live in the floating city of Dalaran. Their whole thing is that they're supposed to be neutral in this world of Warcraft, but after her house was nuked and Aethys Sunstrider, who is a part of the Kirin, betrayed her, she's now gone off the deep end and is starting to imprison every Horde member in Dalaran. And since that's our job to stop that, we take a flight and are teleported into the underbelly. Once we got into the sewers, we got a full report from one of the Sunreavers.
Jaina's gone over the edge. She's imprisoning the Sunreavers and attacking those who resist. What's worse, the Silver Covenant has seized the opportunity to join the bloodshed.
After rescuing the citizens and wiping the floor with the Silver Covenant, we're sent to fight a man named Sorin Magehand. I guess he's a reference to somebody from Game of Thrones? He goes down in one hit, and we bring the fight topside. After narrowly avoiding Jaina, we're given some quests to take out some Alliance and free our Dragonhawks. And a little fun fact, if you played on the Alliance side during the Mists of Pandaria remix, you would actually farm these Dragonhawks for the currency that would drop. Sadly, when I played through it on my old account, I didn't realize this until they had already patched it. Anyways, we're still looking for Aethys, and we were told that this person in here would have him, but clearly, she does not. Turns out he's being held in the Violet Citadel, and after removing our obstacle, we take a portal and escape. And after landing on our Dragonhawks and flying off to Silvermoon, we get some words from the leader of the Blood Elves.
Aethys, you're alive.
Thanks to this hero, a few of us made it out of there. Many more have been sent to the Violet Hold.
Anara Lashtanal. Will someone tell me what is going on in Dalaran?
Proudmoore. She's gone and expelled the Sunreavers from the city. She's purging the Horde from the Kirin.
She's gone too far. I'm certain the Alliance can move their war mages through the city at will. That human witch! When will they learn? When will they see that the Horde exists because of the Alliance? Because of their prejudice and their bigotry? They force us ever closer to Hellscream's Horde.
My lord.
Alduran, summon the Rangers. Romath, assemble the Blood Magi and add the Sun Reaver's strength to your own. We Sindori will take our future into our own hands.
With yet another faction threatening to leave the Horde, we only have one quest left in this entire storyline. And for the most part, it's fully voiced over, so I'm not going to say any commentary. We're just going to watch.
We are the Horde. We are slaves to nothing and no one. With the Divine Bell, I will burn away any remnants of weakness within us. Fear, despair, hatred, doubt. The lesser races are buried beneath their weight. But we will control their power. Together, we will destroy the Alliance and claim what is rightfully ours. Let our song of victory begin! Our victory is all but a show, and the power of the bell on our side. We will be unstoppable! This is but a test of our strength. We will pass this trial, just as we have passed others. This is but a test of our strength. We will pass this trial, just as we have passed others.
Stop, Garrosh! You do not know what that bell is capable of.
So, in the end, it is not Varian, but his whelp who comes to face me. You run bravely to your death, young one.
I will not let you do this. I swear to it.
Stop me then, human. This pain! I cannot control it! Fight this, master it, you... Oh, Chief. I have failed you. Yes, Ishi, you have. Your interference has cost me a great warrior, young prince. You'll pay with your life!
That is where you are wrong, Garrosh. The Mogu made the Divine Bell to create chaos, but the Pandaren created a special mallet to turn the echoes of that chaos into perfect harmony. That mallet was hidden for thousands of years, until now.
Die, whelp!
With the bell destroyed and Anduin presumed dead, we're finally done with the Horde campaign. But before we head back to the Isle of Thunder, I have a few tasks that need to be done. First and foremost is all of the Lorewalker scrolls. We finally got all of them. Sitting at the top of Mogushan Palace is a library, and sitting inside that library is the faction known as the Lorewalkers. They're a group of Pandarans who have made it their duty to recount and collect all the lore that's happened in Pandaria over the last 10,000 years. And their leader is none other than Lorewalker Cho. He's gonna be the one that we turn these scrolls into. And we're not gonna sit here and watch all of these, or any of them for that matter, mainly because each one is about 2 to 3 minutes long, and we're already 23 minutes into this video, which, hey, thank you for making it this far, I really appreciate it. Back to the scrolls. After turning in a good handful, it nets you the exalted status with the Lorewalkers. It gets you a nice tabard and a really nice mount. And there's a shelf that actually shows your progress on how many scrolls of lore that you've collected. And with all the Lorewalker stuff done, there's only one thing I need to grab before we head back to the Isle of Thunder. Alright, with that finally out of the way, we can go to the Isle. And one of the many achievements that we're going to knock out first is the Champions of Lei Shin achievement. There are 10 rares on the Isle of Thunder, and luckily they all share the same loot table. I was also very fortunate that not a lot of people were messing around in the Isle of Thunder, so I did manage to get it within like a decent amount of time. After that, we one-tap Nalik to get another achievement. And then this is where things get messy. You see, I didn't really organize my clips very well, and since I was max level, I figured I'd get ahead on doing raids, just so I could get ahead of that weekly reset while I was doing this. And sadly, because of that, a lot of this is out of order. I'm sure the people that were paying attention can already tell that. So since we're already doing this out of order, I'm just gonna read off all the achievements that are under the Stormbreaker meta achievement, which covers all of the Isle of Thunder achievements that you can get. First one's up is just the Isle of Thunder achievement that you get for doing the storyline, which looking back while editing, I should have done this after the Horde campaign. The next one is Thunder Plunder. You get that just for looting any kind of trove that's around. There's these little golden chests. I managed to find one in a mine shaft. Next up is Blue Response. There's these little pterodactyls that spawn everywhere, and sometimes they have a chance to be blue, and all you have to do is walk up to it, and it'll run off, and then you get the achievement. I managed to find this one on a tent in a Zandalari area, and I had to do some parkour, but ended up getting it in the end. The next one is For the Ward. There are these wards that are around both the Alliance and the Horde sides, and all you have to do is activate one, and then you bring an enemy near it, and it should kill it. Since I'm level 70, I one-tap everything, but I'm using a toy that I'll talk about here in a minute. The next one up is called Speed Metal. There's an NPC called Metal Lord Monohan, and he has these little guys around them that generate electricity. The trick to this achievement is killing those little guys until you get 10 stacks of this thing called Power Surge. It was actually pretty easy. The buff didn't seem to have a cap, so every time you took out one of the guys, it just kept increasing it over and over, so you could just wait for them to respawn. And then at 10 stacks, you just go and hit the guy. Alright, in the same vein, we're gonna get the achievement, You Made Me Bleed My Own Blood. There's another NPC in the area called Fleshcrafter Hoku. This one's even easier. You just have to wait for him to do a certain move that makes little blood globules come out, and then you just hit him without attacking any of the other guys. This next achievement is called When in Igaluk, Do As the Scumblade Do. I tried to say that achievement 3 times, and I struggled every time. But this one's fairly easy. There's a dinosaur named Kroshik, and all you have to do is bow at every stage of his life. It actually used to be a lot more difficult, because it used to take 4 days in between each growth cycle. Now you're able to find all 4 stages at the same time. Alright, next achievement. Platform Hero. All you have to do is survive on these pillars for 90 seconds. And since I'm over-leveled, these only tickle just a little bit, so I just sit on there for 90 seconds and we get it. Next achievement is called Our Powers Combined. There's a Guardian being blessed by 4 casters. The trick to getting this achievement is to defeat him with none of the casters alive and all of the casters alive. Which doesn't sound too hard until you realize that I one-tap everything. Which is where that one toy comes into play. This is the toy called Soft Foam Sword, and I believe it was designed for moments like this. If you are over-leveled, or if their level is in the gray, you can use this toy to do 90% of their health in one hit. Sadly, I don't think this works on bosses, but it works on just about any other creature. So using this, I mortally wound all 4 of the casters, and then take out the golem. The next achievement is simply called Boop. There are Zandalari trolls flying around on pterodactyls, and you get this achievement by knocking them off without killing either of the NPCs. But again, level 70, one tap. But the soft foam sword can't reach them. This is where the Red Rider air rifle comes to play. It's like the sword, but even weaker and ranged. So all I have to do is line up the shot and With that out of the way, it's time to tackle, in my opinion, the hardest achievement in this list. It's called Ready for Raiding? So in this place, there are tons and tons of cockroaches. And to get this achievement, you have to squish 200 of them within a minute. And this took me forever. At first, I thought I could just ride my mount over them, but that only got me like 40 to 50 within a minute. And then I realized that they spawn in these piles all around the area. So then I just tried targeting those, and that only got me maybe 70. And so I went to Wowhead, and after browsing the comment section of this achievement, I realized I picked one of the best classes for this. Hunters have an ability called Barrage. It's a channeled ability that shoots a barrage of arrows or bullets in a 40-yard range. And normally you can't target the roaches to attack them, but for some reason Barrage can hit them. So my new strategy is to run around these pools of roaches and cast Barrage off cooldown. And it was working. I was netting like 130 to 150 every time. And then I realized they weren't spawning back fast enough, so I waited a few, and here's the run that did it. This was one of those achievements that I always saw as a kid that I was never able to get. Words can't describe how happy I am now that I have it. On to the next achievement. This is one of the more time-consuming ones, called These Mogu Have Got a Gogu. Basically, any rare has a small chance to drop an incantation, and there are 3 in total. The incantation of Dang, Hakin, and Vu. These all pertain to deceased Mogu that have been buried in the Isle of Thunder, but they're pretty easy to deal with. They all go down in one hit. This next one is called This Isn't Even My Final Form. All you have to do is take out one of these wandering god hulks and then drink a Zandalari potion. And now it's time for one of the most annoying achievements on this list. It's called Dire Horn in a China Shop. The reason I say this one's annoying is because you have to keep 2 things alive while kiting them a very long way. There is an item called a Priceless Zandalari Vase on one side of this camp. On the other side of the camp is a dire horn being mind-controlled by a Zandalari. The reason why this is difficult is because you have to aggro them and maintain aggro. Now, if I was playing a class that had a taunt, like any of the tank classes, this wouldn't be that hard. But since I'm playing a hunter, I have to consistently damage them throughout the kiting process. But Dark, I might hear you say, why don't you just have your pet growl at them to taunt? You see, I tried that, but even on passive mode, the second you hit growl, they auto-attack and insta-kill them. I don't know if this is a bug, but the way that I eventually did it was by using that air rifle that we got earlier. And since it does no damage, it's perfect to use on the Zandalari, and as long as he is attacking me, the Dire Horn will follow. And all I had to do was slowly walk them all the way over to the vase, and then prompt the Dire Horn charge. And with that, I've gotten every achievement that I could possibly get. Except for these 3. The reason why I didn't get these 3 right away is because, well, life got in the way, honestly. Between working a 40-hour-a-week job and having to edit in my free time, not to mention trying to stream consistently, I would be too tired to even remember to log on and get my daily ritual stone. But to my credit, I got a decent amount of them. And when it comes to the crumble bundle, I don't know how you're supposed to get the last piece. I looked everywhere and it said that you're supposed to transform into a Sorok, but I couldn't get it to happen. I don't know how to do that. I did end up getting the Zandalari library card, but I will be talking about that later. For now, however, we are done with the Isle of Thunder. Now it's time to move on to the next phase, raiding. So I definitely did these out of order, but I'm going to present them within order. And by within order, I'm talking about how they go left to right on the raiding profile. So first up is just all the world bosses. Well, except for the one that's in the Isle of Giants. I'll save him for last. In total, there are 8 raid bosses out in the open world of Pandaria. But since you can't touch Ordos unless you did Mop Remix or played Mop during its release, he's out of the picture. And since I'm going to save Undasta for when we cover Isle of Giants, he's also out of the picture. So that leaves us with the Shaw of Anger, Salus's Warband, Nalik, and all of the August Celestials on the Timeless Isle. I already talked about the Salus Warband and Nalik, and I didn't show it, but I also got the Shaw of Anger on the way to the Salus Warband. So all that leaves are the August Celestials on the Timeless Isle. And luckily, since we're just going for the achievement, we don't have to worry about a weekly reset. You see, they only drop loot once per week, but you can still fight all 4 of them for the Celestial Challenge achievement. With that, we're done with all the world bosses, which means the next raid we tackle is Mogushan Vaults. There are 12 achievements you can get out of this raid, but we aren't going to talk about 6 of them because it's just killing the raid boss on heroic mode. And this is where I embarrass myself, because I only got 1 of the achievements that you can get, and that is the Straight 6 achievement, which you get for deactivating all of the focuses during the Elegon fight. Yeah, it turns out it's almost impossible to get all these other ones with just one person. I guess that's why they're raid achievements, not single person achievements. I will say I couldn't figure out the one with the dogs, the Must Love Dogs achievement, because I tried taming one of the Quilin in there and it didn't count. As of editing this right now, I can only guess that it's because I had my porcupine out. You know what? I'm gonna go check that. I'm gonna check that right now. All right, this is a live reaction. I have just the dog out. This should be considered a dog, right? I'm now going to attack the Guardian. See, like, what? Is this not considered a canine? I don't get it. Give me the bonus loot. I'll take it. I rest my case. Oh yeah, and for the people interested in the lore about the Mogushan Vaults, it's just a place the Mogu kept all of their history in, and it wasn't opened until very recently. The big important lore thing is that it's revealed that the Mogu were Titan constructs. They were literally made with a printer, but once the Titans left, they decided to print their own people. And then they got inflicted with the Curse of Flesh, but I'll talk about that later. But the important thing is that we wanted to stop them from printing out Mogu. With that, we are on to the next raid, which is the Heart of Fear. This raid also has the same amount of achievements. And once again, I only got one of the optional achievements. I'm going to chalk this up to me not having free time anymore. I'm also starting to notice a theme. Apparently, I only got the achievements that you can get within the first second of the fight by ignoring mechanics. So I'm just going to show a splash screen of the achievements I did get, and we'll just move on. Also, if you want the lore about what happens in the Heart of Fear, you might as well watch this video that I made. It practically explains everything leading up to and what happens inside. But just to skim the lore, Empress Shekazir was brainwashed by the Shaw of Fear, and she just made a big ol' mess. Next up is the Terrace of Endless Springs. This is the place the Shaw of Fear fled to after we defeated the Empress. And these were the achievements I was able to get. And I was also able to get the Fearless title, which was really nice. Alright, all that's left are the big raids. The Throne of Thunder and the Siege of Orgrimmar. I'm going to get a little bit more in-depth about these raids because they're the really important ones. Achievement-wise, I actually got all but 6. And I would have had 3 more, but those 3 required you to run the raid multiple times. But before I get into depth about the achievements, let's actually enter the raid. And heading inside, we are faced with just a whole lot of Zandalari trolls. And the reason there's so many actually ties into what we learned from the Lorewalkers. Basically, there was this prophet named Zul, and he warned the current king of the Zandalari of the cataclysm that was going to happen. He warned that their entire city was going to sink below the sea. The king didn't really believe any of this, but he lended Zul some ships just in case. And it's with these ships that Zul took the Zandalari all the way to Pandaria. It's at some point that the Zandalari made a pact with the Mogu that if Lei Shin were to ever die, they would resurrect him. And in turn, the Thunder King would give the Zandalari a place to live. Now, the events of the Cataclysm did destroy part of the Zandalari Empire. It did not destroy all of it. But the Zandalari that left never really came back, so they just stayed in Pandaria to work with Lei Shin. With that backstory done, we can finally explain this first boss. When Lei Shin was brought back to life, he rewarded the most loyal of the Zandalari with his lightning powers, one of them being Jinrock the Breaker. He received so much that apparently his body exploded, but when he reformed, he turned into that. And if you fought this guy at level when Pandaria was out, he was pretty difficult. He just throws constant AoEs out that damages the raid, so if you didn't have good healers, you died pretty quickly. And there is one achievement associated with him. It is called Lightning Overload. Every once in a while, he would mark a player with a lightning orb that would chase you until it hit you. The achievement is to have 2 of these lightning balls hit each other. Now, sadly, I couldn't do this because no matter how many moves I tried to use to increase my movement speed, the orb would always catch up and hit me before he summoned the next one. This is definitely one of those bring a friend achievements, but I don't really have friends on this account, or friends in general that would want to play this with me, so I'm just kind of out of luck for non-soloable achievements and raids. I will say, however, if you would like to help me, I recently created a community in WoW called Cult of the Dark Moon. It has a little cheese icon, because I thought it was funny. I've never really made one of these before, but you are more than welcome to join, and I'll be adding anyone that wants to apply for it. Alright, with that plug out of the way, we take out Jinrock, and we are on to the next boss. And after passing through a bunch of windy bridges, we enter a stadium with a giant dire horn named Horadon. It seems the Zandalari also brought their pets with them. I did manage to get the one achievement for Horadon, which is just to slay him before any of the Zandalari Dinomancers come out onto the field. After taking him out, we go through another gauntlet of trolls before we reach the Council of Elders. This one needs a little bit of context. This lore goes about 10,000 years back. Back then, Azeroth only had one supercontinent called Kalimdor, and trolls were one of the first races to emerge out of this continent, and they eventually split off into 6 main sub-races. They were obviously the Zandalari, the Drakari, also known as Frost Trolls, the Firaki, also known as Sand Trolls, the Amani, which are the Forest Trolls, and the Gurubashi, which are the Jungle Trolls. And the story of trolls is long and bloody and awful. Again, I suggest watching a lore video from a much more well-educated person than I am. But the point is, they were all at each other's necks until the Zandalari stepped up and told them that the Mogu could make them stronger together. But to prove to Lei Shin that they were worthy, they had to defeat the lone intruder, which is me. And just like with the other bosses, there's one achievement associated with them. And that's just to take them out without leaving this circle that's around the arena. And with my barrage, they didn't even get a chance to move. With that, we're done with the first wing of the Throne of Thunder. Now it's from this point you're supposed to run across the bridge, where Lei Shin stops you and destroys it, making you plummet into the chasm below. And since it's an unskippable cutscene, I really didn't want to deal with that, so there's a trick that you can do. You just run off to the right-hand side, jump all the way down, die, and then resurrect right in the same spot. Luckily, since I'm a hunter, I can just disengage and not plummet to my death. But now we have entered the Forgotten Depths. And right off the bat, we have to fight a giant turtle. This is Tortos, what was once just a regular dragon turtle. However, after being exposed to flesh-shaping magic over 1,000 years, it slowly was twisted into this giant creature. So Tortos, like all the other bosses, has one achievement associated with it. And it's a reference to Mario of all things. So over the course of the fight, Tortos summons these spinning turtles, and to get this achievement, all you have to do is kick one of the turtle shells through 5 or more of the other turtles. And since I take no damage, I just sit here until there's way more than 5 turtle shells, and then I kick it. With that out of the way, we are off into the deeper parts of the depths. And this next boss has a little bit of a prerequisite. There are 3 bells all across the area that you have to destroy before this one shows up. And it isn't too hard to do, you just gotta know where they are. But after breaking the 3rd bell, Maghera is awoken. And the lore about this one is kind of sad. You see, once the Mogu learned how to use flesh-shaping magic, they experimented on all sorts of creatures. One of them being a wind serpent that was twisted into this awful hydra that's just constantly in pain. And the worst part is they didn't even kill it, they just left it down here to waste away. But with that sad backstory out of the way, let's talk about the achievement. So Maghera has one of a handful of achievements that take multiple runs to do. This one is called Head Case, and you have to defeat Maghera on 3 separate occasions while intentionally not taking out a specific type of head. As of making this, I only have 2 out of the 3, I'm just missing the frozen one. I will offer some advice to anyone who's trying to solo this. You'll want to wait for Maghera's rage to subside before attacking the next head. For some reason, this can cause a bug where Maghera just keeps attacking and doesn't die. But with this sad creature put out of its misery, we're on to the next fight. After traveling up a sewage system, we get to this wide open area filled with birds. Turns out a lot of the Flesh Shapers experiments would fail, so they would just toss them down here, which would attract a whole lot of birds. And the biggest one out of all of them, Ji-kun, came down here and made this their home. The achievement associated with Ji-kun is really difficult. Somewhere after the raid encounter is started, a golden egg will appear, and you have to get it before it cracks. And then after you obtain it, you have to defeat Ji-kun. No matter where I looked, I could not find this egg. And even after watching guides, I couldn't figure out where it was, so I just kind of gave up on this one. But after defeating Ji-kun, we get the meta achievement for completing the Forgotten Depths, and we are on to the next wing of this raid. Escaping from the sewers and into the halls of flesh shaping, we find our next boss. This is Darumu the Forgotten. Leishan basically wanted a living lie detector, so he had his flesh shapers blend up a bunch of mist lurkers into whatever the heck this is supposed to be. And the achievement associated with this guy is nigh impossible. There's a very specific phase where he summons a bunch of fog beasts that you have to find because they are invisible. And to even do that, you have to activate a move called Light Spectrum, and I'm not even going to try to explain that. You can go ahead and just read this move to get an idea of how difficult this one is to do. So I didn't even bother with Darumu, we're just going to move on from that. And following a trail of ooze, we enter a chamber with a creature called Primordius. This was originally the chamber where the Flesh Shapers turned this ooze into the Sorok. When Leishan was eventually defeated and the palace was abandoned, the Flesh Shapers left the Sorok to sit in this chamber, and it seems all but one of them left. And after swimming in these pools for 1,000 years, that Sorok turned into what we see before us. And luckily, this achievement's super easy to get. All you have to do is kill him before he adds any mutations to you. And heading into the next chamber, we stumble into even more of this red goo that's everywhere. Except this stuff is being molded by Flesh Shapers. Before Leishan died, he wanted to construct a servant that would defend his citadel without fear. And after much experimentation, he created these mechanical servants that were powered with this goo. This raid boss also has a multi-raid achievement. It's to defeat all the ritualists that are holding this orb. Each one of them has a different name, and it changes every visit. And there are 24 different ritualists you need to take out to earn this achievement. And sadly, I've only got half of them. But this is one of those ones that you'll earn eventually just running these 4 transmogs, which I intend to do throughout the entirety of this challenge. But after defeating Dark Animus, we get the meta achievement for completing the Halls of Flesh Shaping. All that's left are 3 raid bosses, and we will be done with the Throne of Thunder. And after escaping the sewers, we run into a Mogu named Iron Khan. This was one of the few Mogu that was recognized by Leishan himself, utilizing Flying Quilin to dispatch his enemies. He also just looks really cool. It kind of bums me out that you can't get his armor set, because I would love to rock that on some type of warrior. Also, the achievement associated with this one is super easy. It's just another take him out before he does his moves achievement. He also drops one of, in my opinion, the best looking guns in the game. If and when I get that to drop, I will be using that on Grabham's transmog. Alright, enough about this guy. Let's move on to the next raid boss. And after clearing another chamber, we run into the Twin Empyreans. And Taking a closer look at them, you might notice some differences. Mainly the fact that they're the only 2 female Mogu in the entire Empire, and after doing some digging, I found some removed lore about them that was originally in the adventure guide. The twin consorts are said to be the greatest of the Thunder King's treasures, rumored to be the only known female Mogu in existence. Lei Shin keeps his trophies close, and their combined arsenal against interlopers closer. So if you needed any more reason to hate Lei Shin, he created women as trophies, so there you go. And these 2 have a fairly unique achievement associated with them. You have to defeat Lulin before you defeat Suin. More specifically, before Suin falls below 30% health. I'm sure at the time that was difficult with their mechanics, but since I one-tap, I just click one and then I click the other. After they've been defeated, we are on to fight Lei Shin himself. So we're finally here. After our failure at Zhaochen Village and our siege on the temple, we can finally take down this tyrant. The achievement associated with Lei Shin is another multi-raid achievement. Once damaging him, he will go into a phase where he overloads his pillars. To get this achievement, you have to overload one specific pillar each encounter, so you have to run this a minimum of 4 times. Sadly, in all this time that I've had, I've only ran the raid twice, but I definitely plan on getting this achievement in the near future. For now, we line up our shot, and we take down the Thunder King. Since we're running this on Heroic, we've gained access to a hidden boss. This is Ra-Den, and when Pandaria was out, there was not much known about him, but as of making this, we know a lot more about him. He was originally a Titan Keeper, set down in Pandaria to watch over Ysarge's remains. I'll get more into what Titan Keepers are in a future expansion. He was guarding what is now known as the Mogushan Vaults, and when Lei Shin rose to power, he discovered Ra-Den in this chamber. From what we can tell, Lei Shin took Ra-Den's power of lightning and imprisoned him in the Throne of Thunder. And all that red goo we've been seeing everywhere? That's Ra-Den's blood. The Mogu are truly monsters in every sense of the word, and as we approach this Titan Keeper, whose mind has been broken over millennia, we listen to his words as we prepare to fight.
For millennia I have waited in darkness, in silence, pierced only by the shrieks of the tormented, my dreams a waking nightmare. I see the naive hope in your eyes. You think you are my saviors? Wring that mocking pity from your hearts and focus it inwards, for you shall soon know my agony. This twisted world is beyond redemption, beyond the reach of deluded heroes. The only answer to corruption is destruction, and that begins now. When I am finished with you... Wait! I am not your enemy.
With that, we're officially done with the Throne of Thunder. This is also officially the longest YouTube video I've ever made. And we haven't even done the Siege of Orgrimmar yet. So without further ado, let's get into it. So, following Garrosh's little oopsie, we descend into the raid portal under Mogushan Palace. It's here that we find the Vale's source of water. It's known as the Pools of Power, but thanks to Garrosh, it's been twisted and corrupted into a giant elemental known as Immersius. And the achievement associated with Immersius is really difficult to do with a hunter. You see, for this raid fight, you have to purify him by killing the Shaw-infested waters and healing the uncorrupted waters. And to get this achievement, you have to CC one of the Shaw puddles long enough for him to reform, and it will turn into what is called a Tear of the Vale. You have to take out 10 of these before you defeat Immersius to get this achievement. And my abilities that CC do damage, which one-taps anything. So in order to do this one, I will need a friend. But after cycling Immersius a few times, we defeat him and we move on. Next up are the Fallen Protectors. There's a faction in the Vale known as the Golden Lotus. They, as well as the Shadowpan, were caught in the explosion after Garrosh dumped the heart in. What's left are these twisted ghosts corrupted by the Shaw. To get the achievement for this one, you need a total of 5 players, so I'm not even going to explain that one. We defeat them and we move on. Next up is Norushin, another Titan Keeper said to guard the heart of Ysarge. It's also suggested that the entire Mogu race was made in Norushin's likeness. He says before we can fight the Shaw of Pride, we must pass his test. Now he says this is a fight against our own corruption, but personally I think you're fighting the frame rate more than anything. I don't know why it does this either. I don't know if anyone else is having this problem, but every time without fail in this fight, my FPS tanks. Luckily the achievement for this one is one of the ones that you get for just one-tapping the boss, so we don't have to suffer the bad frame rate for long. After we cleanse ourselves, we head into the chamber where the heart was unearthed. In the adventure guide, it said that when Garrosh awakened the heart of Ysarge, the sheer force of his arrogance summoned the Shaw of Pride, coalescing itself in the very chamber where the heart was found. Once again, we're pretty lucky with the achievement for this one. It's another kill him before he does anything achievement. And after defeating the Shaw of Pride, both the Horde and Alliance converge into the room.
So Hellscream's arrogance unleashed the last of the Shaw. I am not surprised.
Look here. He left his weapon behind.
Gorehowl.
This means he's completely unhinged.
News to no one, Regent Lord. King Rin's fleet is converging on Orgrimmar as we speak.
Likewise, Sylvanas and I have both sent ships to support Vol'jin's revolution.
I'm warning you, Lorthamar. The Alliance is besieging the city, and we will destroy Hellscream. Your people had best stay out of our way.
It is always a pleasure to see you, Lady Proudmoore. Champions, come with me. It's time to settle grievances with our war chief.
With their little lovers spat out of the way, we take the portal to Lorthamar's ship. It's from here that we can truly start the Siege of Orgrimmar. Once we're on the shore, we take out their cannons, and we start the next raid encounter. And this is one of the more unique fights, which is more mechanic-based than it is DPS-based. There's an orc named Warlord Zayla flying around on a dragon named Galacrus. To defeat her, we need to take control of these 2 towers, while also keeping the forces of the Alliance and Horde alive. Our job is to defend the main group that's fighting off waves, as well as goblins that are breaching the towers. Once we gain access to the towers, we can shoot down Galacrus and end the fight. To earn the achievement, we can't let any of the important NPCs die during this encounter, which I don't think is going to be a problem. We breeze through it, and we're on to the gates of Orgrimmar. Heading up to the gates, we find it guarded by the Iron Juggernaut, a machine Garrosh had specifically made to guard the gates of Orgrimmar. I did not get the achievement for this one. To obtain this one, you have to stomp on superheated crawler mines, specifically 6 of them, before defeating the Iron Juggernaut. I was not able to obtain this achievement in the 2 times that I ran this raid, but hopefully in the future I can. For now, we move on to the next raid boss. And finally entering into the city, we come across a terrible scene.
Do you see this burning candle? You have until it burns out to tell us about the Pandaren artifacts. Now, start talking!
Oh no, Gee, they are going to execute him.
Before we fight these bosses, we have to do a few things. We rescue G Firepaw, we obtain a key and rescue the prisoners stuck in cages, and finally we rescue the unwilling combat participants. With those done, we go inside and take out the shamans. It's at this point in editing that I've realized I've lost a lot of my footage. I don't know where it went. I'm thinking that it's my Stream Deck not registering that I'm pressing the record button for my OBS. This was also around the time when my OBS fully crashed, and when I had to reinstall it, it factory reset all my settings. So I'm just gonna recreate how to get these achievements. So I apologize if the achievements don't pop up. That's just the reason why. I will say I still have the footage for this next one. So after defeating the Korkron Shamans and heading further into the city, we come across Gammon. I didn't know too much about Gammon until literally just now. I guess in Classic he was part of a rogue questline, but because he was just a neutral NPC in the middle of Orgrimmar, any Horde player could attack him. So he just became a meme that people would go in and just kill him whenever he respawned. And Blizzard took that and used Gammon to show Garrosh's racism towards other races. But it's here now that we use him for an achievement. To get it, you have to escort Gammon all the way down to the General Nazgrim fight, having to mow down a ton of Korkron and demons while descending into Ragefire Chasm. Once you make it all the way down, he will stand there and wait until you engage in the fight. After attacking one of the guards, he will charge at Nazgrim, and I take this opportunity to take him out. Also, the lore about Nazgrim is pretty sad. He's been unmovingly loyal to the Horde since Wrath of the Lich King. Sadly, he decided to side with Garrosh, ending in his death. But after defeating Nazgrim, we descend even further underground. Next up is Malkarok. He's been helping Garrosh since the start of the Pandaria campaign, and he was first in line to be infused with Ysarge's corruption, turning him into the monster you see before you. To get the achievement for him, you have to take one of these NPCs into the raid fight and wait for him to do Breath of Ysarge. After the NPC has transformed, you take out Malkarok and you get the achievement. The next raid boss is more of a mechanic fight than an actual boss. Much like the Galacrus fight, you have to follow specific rules in order to beat this. First, you have to trigger the self-destruct sequence, and then you jump down and destroy as many crates as you can and the enemies inside. After defeating enough enemies, it will power a lever, and afterwards you head to the other side and repeat the process. Do this 2 more times and you win. Now, to get the achievement, you need 2 people. Both sides have both Mantid and Mogu artifacts. However, to get the achievement, you can only do one type, and since it will self-destruct unless you pull all 4 levers, you must do this with a second person in order to qualify. But again, it's just me, so we move on. Next up is Thok the Bloodthirsty, a giant devil sword that they captured on the Isle of Giants. In order to get this achievement, you have to open the thrice-locked cage during the fight, and then after defeating Thok, you have to let the snail eat his corpse. I couldn't figure it out, so we move on. Entering into another chamber, we find where Garrosh is getting his weapons from. This is Helix Blackfuse. He's a goblin engineer hired by Garrosh to make all these awful weapons. He's also the one that created the Iron Juggernaut. To get his achievement is pretty easy. Take him out before he does anything. With Helix down, we head even deeper underground. Do you remember the warning we were given by the Klaxi? That if their gods ever resurrected, they would serve them without hesitation? Well, it just so happens Garrosh woke up one of their gods, so now they serve him. So all the work we did waking them up from their amber prisons has ended in us having to fight all 9 paragons of the Mantid army. Now, to get the achievement for this boss, you have to kill and then assume the mantle of 3 different paragons. As far as I know, you can only do it once per fight. And I completely forgot you can run raids on different difficulties without having to wait a week. So I'm gonna attempt that now as of editing. With that out of the way, there's only one person left to beat.
It is not too late, Garrosh. Lay down the mantle of War Chief. We can end this here, now, with no more bloodshed. Ha! Do you remember nothing of honor, of glory on a battlefield? You who would parley with the humans, who allowed warlocks to practice their dark magics right under our feet. You are weak. We are the Orcish Horde, the true Horde. We die bloody and thrashing on the field of battle, like true orcs should. You are an orc no longer, and speak for none but yourself. You betrayed our people to forge your fragile alliances, and I will take great pleasure in tearing them apart.
Then you have forced my hand. I will correct the mistake I made long ago. Spirits of the wind, the earth, the water, hear my call! Come to my...
Fool! My dark shaman have twisted and tortured the elements for miles around. They cannot hear you now. Once again, you prove too weak and powerless to do anything.
Never powerless, Garrosh. And never alone.
So, you wish to face off against a real orc war chief? So be it.
It all comes down to this. All we have to do is defeat Garrosh Hellscream, and the Horde will be free. And to get the achievement for this fight, you have to kill 18 Kor'kron Warbringers with 1 Iron Star. During Phase 1, he'll summon these enemies, and occasionally Iron Stars will go across the battlefield. All we have to do is save up enough people, and then tank a hit. After that, we just have to defeat Garrosh Hellscream, which is a little easier said than done, as in Mythic mode, he has multiple phases, becoming more and more corrupted in each phase, until he's nothing more than a corrupted monster. After that, he reveals his true colors, showing his twisted vision of his victory over Stormwind. All the Alliance leaders impaled on spikes, and not just the Alliance, all of the Horde leaders as well. Sadly, the fight is scripted to just knock him unconscious, but after putting him down, we're given a cinematic.
You disappoint me, Garrosh. You are not worthy of your father's legacy.
His punishment is not for you alone to decide.
I won't let you take him.
We have all suffered from his atrocities. My people, more than any other. Let him stand trial in Pandaria. There, we will mete out justice for all. The Horde needs its true war chief, now more than ever.
Yes, but it was you that held the Horde together during this madness. It was you that protected our honor. From this day forward, Vol'jin, if you lead, I will follow.
I am not worthy. But I will give my all for the Horde.
I will speak to your war chief.
I speak for the Horde.
Very well. The Horde has committed heinous crimes, Vol'jin. But some among you fought against Garrosh's tyranny. For that, I am willing to end this bloodshed. But know this. If your Horde fails to uphold honor as Garrosh did, we will end you.
With his fate to be decided by the Pandaren, we're officially done with the Siege of Orgrimmar. And with our newly appointed war chief, things are already looking better. There's actually a hidden questline in Garrosh's vision. It takes you out into the Vale, where we speak the Lorewalker Cho one last time.
Pandaria welcomes you. Dear Emperor, it is done. The darkness that you once struggled against has been purged from Pandaria forever. But the cost, such a terrible cost.
Do not despair the damage that was done here. You triumphed over the darkness I had locked away. You have shown Pandaria the power of a true hero. But the question still remains, why do we fight? I trust you have learned to fight out of fear or anger is to fight a war that never ends. Face your fears, calm your hatreds. Find peace within yourself so that you may share it with the world around you. These are the greatest treasures in life. Surely they are worth fighting for.
Thank you, Emperor. Thank you.
With that, we're done with all the raids. At least that's what I'd like to think. Now that I know we can run multiple raids all at once, I'm just gonna insert me getting as many achievements as I can right here. Alright, now we're done. And as much as I'd like to keep going and covering all the other things, I think I'm going to end this here. In the next part, we'll cover everything else and then move on to the next expansion. I'd like to thank anyone who stuck around to the end. Personally, I didn't think this would be an hour long, but that just goes to show how much stuff I have to cover. So again, thank you so much for watching. And hey, if you're at the end of the video, might as well like and subscribe. Clearly you liked it enough to be at the end of the video. So maybe even hit that bell, maybe? And while you're at it, maybe follow my Twitch? And I'm also gonna plug my Patreon because holy moly, this took so long to do. So if you'd like to support me in any way, I have $1 and $5 tiers. And if you subscribe to the $5 tier, you get put at the end of the video right here. But if anything, just watching the video itself is more than enough support. With that said, I'll see you guys in the next one.